Assalamu alaikum dear students. This is Department of English, Government Postgraduate College Atak. I am Nasir Ali Shah. Students, we are reading the second chapter of the textbook, Using the Scientific Method. So far, we have read that there are a lot of fields in our lives in which we have benefited greatly from the use of science or scientific method. Under the first heading, the writers told us about the control of diseases. The writer has compared the situation of 100 years ago to the present age, and the writer described that 100 years ago there have been a lot of deadly and very dangerous incurable diseases under the attack of which most of the people died, and especially most of the babies died in the first year of their birth. uh, Even after that, when they grew up and became adolescent in their teenage, they were also again attacked by a lot of diseases, including yellow fever, malaria, typhus, cholera, typhoid fever, and influenza. Some of these diseases even exist today, but 100 years ago these diseases were considered to be very deadly and very dangerous, due to which a lot of people died. And a person who attained the age of 30 years was indeed considered to be a very fortunate person or lucky person. But today, owing to the modern inventions and developments in the field of medical science, most of the diseases have been overcome and they are no longer uh, so deadly or so dangerous, and they can be cured easily. Under the next heading, we are reading about the sanitary conditions. The writer compares the sanitary conditions in some of the modern cities of the world, the conditions which were prevalent in those cities 100 years ago or even 200 years ago, and compares them with the present age. The writer tells us that 100 years ago, the city streets were narrow, unpaved, and poorly drained. Means there was not a good arrangement of drainage, or there was no drainage system into those streets. Most of the people used to throw household garbage out into the streets. But today, in these days, the laws have been made to keep the cities and the streets of the cities clean. Today, the city streets are open, paved, and they have a well maintained and good drainage system. And it is against the law to throw the garbage into the streets. Moreover, today we are to read the next sentence of this paragraph. A century ago, it was common practice in many cities to bring water by the bucketful for household use. It was a common practice. Practice means it was a custom or habit. It was just like a tradition or custom of the people a century ago. Here again, the writer is comparing the conditions of availability of water for household use. Household use means anything which is used in the house for different purposes. The writer is comparing the availability of water of 100 years ago with the present day. And the writer tells us a century ago or 100 years ago, it was a common custom or habit of the people in many cities, in many modern cities of the world, to bring water by the bucketful for household use. Bucketful means a bucket or pail which is full of water. Means people had to go to the wells or sources of water by carrying buckets or pails or different other utensils of the house to fill them with water and bring them back to their home. Water had to be carried a considerable distance from the well to the home. considerable means sufficient or a lot of distance. So, as the water wells or the sources of water were not easily available within the populated area or within the cities, so from the house the people had to go to a considerable distance or to a lot of distance away from the house to bring water. So the availability of water was not easy for household use, and it was a very difficult task each and every day for the people to go out of their homes in search of water, or to the water wells, or to rivers or canals or other sources of water from where they could obtain drinking water or the water for the cleaning and bathing purposes at home. For all these purposes, the water had to be carried, means people had to carry those utensils on their shoulder or carrying them, those buckets, with hand. It was a difficult task, and had to bring that water or bring those buckets full of water to home from a very long distance. It was therefore used very sparingly for bathing and cleaning purposes. As the availability of water was very difficult, or it was a very difficult and tiring and time consuming task each day to go out of the home to the sources of water or the water wells and fill all those utensils or buckets or pails with water and carry them on their shoulders or carrying in the hand and bringing them home. It was a very tiring task, difficult task. Therefore, so it was used very sparingly. Sparingly mean economically, or as little as possible, or very little. As the availability of water was not easy, and it had to be carried from a very long distance to the home, so it was used very economically or very little, or it was used as little as possible. Often it came from sources that contained disease producing germs. This is the sentence, this sense we have read earlier, that often the people obtained drinking water from the wells, as outdoor toilets were very common, and most of them were situated near the wells or near the sources of water from where people obtained drinking water. And sometimes it happened that the human waste drained into the wells or drained into those sources of water from where people obtained drinking water. Here again it is being described that often it means water. Often means most of the time the people, the water that the people brought to their home for drinking and for other purposes, it came from sources that contain mean having within. It came from those places or those areas which were having very dangerous and disease producing germs in them. So it means that most of the time that water which was on the one hand it was brought with great difficulty, and on the other hand it was not very clean and pure water, and it contained disease producing germs. Here the writer compares this situation with today's situation. Towns and cities today have water systems that usually provide water enough for household use. Here the writer tells us that in most of the advanced countries or modern cities of the world, in the towns and cities, there is a water supply system that usually provide water. Provide mean furnish. They give water or furnish water enough for household use, which is they provide provide water in such a quantity that it is enough for household use. Usually mean commonly. One of the most important problems in the growth of cities has been to provide sufficient water to meet the many needs of an increasing population. As in the growth of cities mean when the population of a city grows from within, and it grows from without as well. uh, Without means the people from other areas also migrate to the cities for the better provisions of life, for better job opportunities, or for better education of their children, or for other facilities. Most of the people from surrounding area, from surrounding towns and villages, migrate to the cities and start living there. So in both the cases, the population of the cities grows, and with the population, with the growth of cities, uh, as there are a lot of other problems. Among other problems, an important problem is to provide sufficient water. Sufficient mean enough water to meet the many needs of an increasing population. As the population of a city goes on increasing, means the people already living there, their population is also increasing due to the birth of the children, and moreover, it is also growing due to the people who come from the other areas or other towns and villages and settle down in a certain city. So with the growing population or the needs of the growing population, an important need is the provision of drinking clean water. So this is another important problem. Here the writer tells how this problem is being solved in different cities. The writer gives an example of Los Angeles city. Los Angeles has solved this problem by bringing water to the city from the Colorado River, 544 kilometers away. Los Angeles is an American city. It is in the state of New York, in the state of California. In California, this is a very famous and a very large city, Los Angeles. Los Angeles city has solved this problem by bringing water to the city from Colorado River. Colorado is the name of another state, and Colorado state in the south of America. And the river that is situated in that state, Colorado, it is called Colorado River, which is 544 kilometers away from the Los Angeles city. So Los Angeles city, or the city government of Los Angeles, has arranged the supply of water from the Colorado River, which is 544 kilometers away from Los Angeles, carried through a pipeline or aqueduct. Aqueduct is a canal inland waterway. So this water from the river is carried through a pipeline or an aqueduct. 1,000 million liters of water are delivered to the district daily. Means daily, to the whole population of the city, 1,000 million liters of water is being provided or delivered to the city. This is a remarkable advance from the bucket system of supplying homes with water. Remarkable means considerable or very important. So this method of supplying water to the whole population of a city is a remarkable advance. Means it is a very considerable and very important advance. Advance means progress or development. It is a very important progress which is made through the science or scientific method, that the water of the river is carried through a pipeline or aqueduct, and it is provided to the population of the cities in their homes. So this is a very important advance or progress as compared to the supplying homes with water with bucket system. In the olden days or 100 years ago, people had to bring water by buckets full of water, but today those homes or the people living in those cities are being provided with clean and fresh drinking water of the river, which is supplied to them through a pipeline. So Students, this is enough for today's lecture. We shall continue reading the text with explanation in our next lecture.